There are 4 themes in particular that we will focus on in this course that are currently stimulating much collective dialogue and thinking amongst humanitarian child protection practitioners about ways to strengthen current child protection programming in humanitarian settings. The first theme is context, the second, agency. Relationships is the third theme we'll explore, and lastly, prevention. Mark, why is it that we focus on context?
Context is so crucial to the way that we undertake the work to prevent and care for children and families in humanitarian settings. Unfortunately, it's one of the most overlooked areas. In the past 15 or 20 years, there has been an important drive to professionalize and standardize what it means to do child protection in humanitarian action or in humanitarian settings. That's an important step, but in the drive to professionalize, the possibility of adapting programs from one setting to another, of contextualizing them, has become more difficult and has become more challenged. Mm-hmm. That being said, context is absolutely crucial, not just to how we conceptualize and design programs, but to allowing the local context and allowing and enabling people in cultures and in societies all over the world to bring their own conceptions and their own contributions to the ways that we undertake this work. So we can't really do the work without deeply understanding and connecting to the context, and we will be returning to that theme throughout this course to think through how we can better do that. It's closely linked to our second theme of agency. Mike, why did we identify this theme of agency as we designed this course for people?
Well, thanks, Mark. I think the short answer is that local people have a tremendous amount of self-determination and agency. They help their children before a crisis. They help their children during a crisis. And after the crisis, they respond as well. International humanitarian workers oftentimes bring in universalized outside interventions. These expert-driven approaches can be quite useful, but they have a limitation. And the limitation is that they tend to cast local people into the role of being beneficiaries or even victims who are passive. But in fact, in every crisis setting, people have agency, and when they exercise their agency, their dignity is increased and their psychosocial well-being is strengthened. So I think an enduring question that we need to be asking throughout the course and in all our practice is how can we create the spaces for people to exercise their agency, to be creative, and to develop those contextualized approaches and solutions that you were mentioning, Mark. A third theme that we are focusing on is relationships. And I wonder, Tina, if maybe you could comment on why we chose relationships to be our third theme.
Yeah. So relationships are central to child development and to all aspects of child protection, essentially. Of course, children grow and develop generally within families. These families are nested in communities, and the communities are nested in wider nation states and societies. And the relationships children have, both with their caregivers, with their peers, with their wider societal community members, are really critical as sources of resilience as a child learns how to navigate and deal with the harms or threats they might face. But they can also be sources of real risk in potentially creating harms for children that we also look at as child protection actors. A key point why we chose this as an area of focus is that we would like to keep reminding ourselves that when we look at preventing and responding to risks and harms children face, we must be sure to take that relationship angle into account and not just deal with children and their harms as individualized issues that we must address. We need to look at how these harms are situated within the wider context of the communities and societies in which they present themselves. So prevention is our fourth theme. Mark, could you share why we chose this?
Absolutely. It's important to acknowledge that historically, humanitarian child protection has been very focused on responding to harms and to protection issues when they've already happened. We will help a child after they have been a victim of violence or have survived a violent event. We will seek to reintegrate children who have been associated with armed forces and groups into their families and communities. These reactive programs are absolutely fundamental to the work that we do, but we're also beginning to redress the balance and look at the many preventive actions that we can take. There are so many reasons for this. Obviously, it's better for the child, for the children, for the family, for the society, for the crisis not to have had the harmful impacts in the first place. So there is that as a starting point. But we're also beginning to learn and to focus on what we can do given a number of changing elements in the world. Climate change means that natural disasters are becoming more recurring, and that means that we have more visibility about when they're going to happen and where. That allows us to design some preventive interventions before such crises occur. We're also seeing more and more protracted crisis settings or humanitarian settings, and that allows us to take a longer view, which allows us to work in more of this preventive work as well. So a number of factors are coming together, and we want to remind everybody of the importance of prevention on so many levels.
So these are the 4 key themes that we will be exploring throughout the next 7 sections of this course. We welcome you to join us, to engage with us as we learn and as we explore more in this space. Welcome on our co-learning journey.